All right, everybody, welcome to the Tale of 40-ish Gamers. As promised, this is part one, where I'm joined by three friends who all represent different aspects of life's journey through the hobby, where you could be at with a particular game. And for this first series, we're tackling the new 40K. We kicked it off with the GMG review of Warhammer 40,000 Leviathan, and it's a week later. So we're going to catch up today and see what everybody's working on and how far we got into trying out the new 40K, and then we'll discuss the stuff that's come out so far this week, because there's been some cool new releases talking about seeing the actual rules for Space Marines and Tyranids and stuff. And conveniently, Chris and I are painting Space Marines and Tyranids, so we get to actually talk about those things. And we have Nick here because Nick knows what actually came out this week and has been paying far closer attention than Chris and I have. So he's going to tell us what all the hot news is and what the new exciting scuttlebutt is, and keep us all informed, and you informed by proxy. So first, let's catch up with Chris. Chris had to do the lion's share of the painting for this starter set, which I don't feel bad about at all. So
of course you don't.
I don't have feelings anymore. So what are you working on? What have you been painting?
Yeah, so my initial strategy was to tackle the combat patrol portion of the Leviathan box, which is most of the models. So it's the classic stuff.
It's just
like
not the big guns, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. So and I think I went a little too far on some of them. So I was like doing a lot of highlighting and the carapace and shading and stuff, and I'm happy with how they're looking, but I haven't left myself a whole lot of time.
I was gonna say, some people are competitive about playing games. You're competitive about painting. You will, if I beat you, like if I just drag your dick in the dirt for the entire game, as long as your army looks better than mine, you won't care at all.
Yeah, it's a superior victory.
It's a superior victory. Yeah. You gotta look at what you're doing. You're like Meet Joe Black. If you get hit by the car, as long as you're Brad Pitt. If you get hit by a car, hilariously, it doesn't matter.
Still Brad Pitt.
You're gonna look that good. You're still Brad Pitt. You still wake up Brad Pitt in the morning.
But one shocking, I was just stunned at how big this guy is, right? Like the Screamer Killer.
Yeah, he's
enormous. And I was thinking about like the last couple of box sets that have come out. I'm like, we haven't got a model this big in a GW starter box in a while, actually. Like,
I think in Drasta is the biggest thing I can think of coming in a starter set recently, with their big angel wings. Say something, and then the camera will actually show you the
and so just to go, like I was talking last time about like airbrushing the skin, and then just some quick contrast paints on the colors for now. I'll go back and highlight them a bit more. And on a big model like this, I don't suggest using contrast paint necessarily, because he's got too many large flat surfaces. So I end up using like a flat black instead, which fills in for now. I'll end up doing some highlights on the chitin there. But he paints up really nicely and easily. And it's such an impressive model. Like good on GW, man. It's got those classic vibes. Like the second edition starter set was my first box set as a hobbyist, and then all those second edition Tyranids, I had a whole bunch of them in my collection because I had hobby ADD when I was 11. And the
Screamer Killer was for a long time the biggest Games Workshop 40K miniature. Yeah, because the Greater Demons back then were tiny. Like that Screamer Killer was a huge bowling ball of metal until I think the Dreadnought came out, the Space Marine Dreadnought, because it was like the big metal thing after that. I learned a trick just recently. Apparently, if we hold our hands behind the miniature, it will focus better. There you go. I don't have any light on mine.
Oh, there you go.
If I want to actually focus. Yeah, if I spin like this, then it's not trying to, because it will try and find my face, and it'll give us a focus on the miniature instead.
Let's try with this guy and see if
you can get your neurotimer to.
Does it work? Is it working? There. I feel like I'm in a flight. I feel like I'm in a flight simulator right now. What's up and down?
I'm going to definitely add all the images in post anyway. But I'm going to leave part of this where the three of us are just doing like a full Zoolander, like trying to get the file on the computer.
It needs to be 3 times bigger in the picture. Okay.
What is this? The camera for ants?
So the Neuro Tyrant is probably like design wise my favorite model in the box, but I have to say, originally when I saw those first pictures of when they were showing off the box, I actually thought he was a lot bigger. He's not actually that big. He's like a little bit bigger than a Tyranid warrior.
He's like a really big zoanthrope. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, man, he would have been awesome if he was huge.
Yeah, if he in the video where you see him like just brain melt the librarian, he comes across as huge.
Yeah,
like he looks like one of the Reapers from Mass Effect. You know what I mean? Like he looks like he should be flying through space eating planets like Galactus.
Have you guys seen Don't Look Up?
Yep.
Don't Look Up.
It's the Netflix movie. about
Oh, the asteroid. Yeah.
yeah.
I was thinking of Nope for a second. I was like, is that the one with Jordan Peele? No, it's the Netflix one where no one believes about the comet. Yeah.
That monster is pretty close.
There's a monster in Don't Look Up.
I think
Isn't
Nick
that a
has the wrong
comet?
movie title.
Yeah, I
I
think you
think I
have the
might.
wrong movie title. You're talking about
No,
Nope. You're talking about Nope, right? Where the monsters in the sky is
yeah,
eating
it is
people.
Nope. I'm sorry.
It is
Okay,
Nope.
yeah.
Yeah, you were right. Yeah,
I was right.
Nope.
I had the right string with the wrong yo-yo, apparently. Yeah, Nope. Okay, yeah.
I
Because
was
that's the one where
wrong.
like you think it's a flying saucer, but it's actually like a giant space cow that's just like throwing people around.
And then it dies from pollution. I mean, spoilers.
Spoilers, that's right.
So all I have to do tomorrow is base everything. But like, if you ever want a real simple base, people out there, if you don't like basing and you want something really easy, grab a texture paint. I use the GW Crackle one on this, and then just a slightly lighter weathering powder over top, and you can actually get like a really nice simple base.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool. And the weathering powders I always like because you can do a little bit up on the feet too. And it just like brings the model together.
It
with
ties
the
it to the base. Yeah, it ties it down to the base. I did all my Raven Guard like that. Remember with the rust?
Yeah, that was awesome.
I did the Storm of Battlemore and the rust.
It works better too. Like Raven Guard is a perfect example. Like it always pops really nicely on like dark armies too.
Yeah. Because it looks like they're wading through that like rusty dust, like Mars ground. Say something, Nick, if you want us to see them.
Yeah, I am just waiting for you guys to finish. I just don't want to interrupt. That's all. I'm doing this really cool temple roller base, and I'm actually struggling with my color scheme for this. I was going to pick Chris's brain, so I guess I could do it now.
Yeah. Marble, maybe? Do that marble effect where you do streaks on it?
Your sisters are red, right?
Yeah, they're red.
Well, you need some contrast. So you're either going to go dark or a lot lighter, right?
I was thinking maybe a dark brown with like picking out some of the random pieces of ground with like teal and maroon to be like little mosaic pieces.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say turquoise like veins too. If you make it, if you marbleized it.
Yeah, because you could go the opposite direction and just do like that like sandstone kind of color, like that really bright bleached kind of stone, and then have like those little bits of color in it. So just make sure you don't go in the mid-tone because I think your guys are kind of hanging out in there already. So make sure you go darker or lighter. Don't go.
I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna actually reprime these brown, but then I'm gonna go up to like a really light sandstone and then
you can maybe just airbrush right over that with sandstone. Like I just blast it with like an airbrush and then
have you seen that what is the laundry dryer sheet trick with the airbrush?
I've seen people try that. My airbrush is kind of finicky right now, so I'm struggling with fun techniques, but
okay,
I broke it.
Just throw the paint through the sheet instead.
Just get a straw and go and just blow dart that shit. Yeah, that'll work perfectly. That's perfect. So yeah, you got some more models like finished up too. You got the Neurogaunts finished. That's got to be the least satisfying 10 miniatures to paint though, because they're like there's so many of them, there's so little.
They're tiny too, right? Like they're like after even painting the Termagants, because these guys are actually on 25s.
Yeah, they're like old Termagant size, like Rogue Trader
yeah.
Termagant size. They're so little.
And there's not a like they got this like little brain thingy on the back, which is kind of cool, but there's not a ton going on. I mean, it's a little tiny miniature, so you're not gonna be able to do too much anyways.
I feel like they're like larval Termagants that have been infected by the Neurotyrant with like a little like plug. It's like the brain slugs from Futurama, just like the gun slug on the what do they call the blastabugs? What did we call them last time? The
blaster guns.
Oh yeah, blastabugs. Yeah,
blastabugs. I can't remember what we called them.
I heard they're actually called barb gaunts. I think so. That's good that I know that now.
All right, barb gaunts, babs gaunts. Got perfect. That's cool. I mean, that Screamer Killer is the only thing I don't like about it. Like literally the only thing I don't like about it is it's like Predator Dread like plates. Like the fact that like it has like these weird kind of like Predator like dreadlock plates. I wish that the head was just a little more Aliens dome banana like the original one was, because I love that big crab monster look. Like it was such a classic. Yeah. Well, I did some painting too. I got my Terminators started. What can I put them on? I'm nothing. I'm just gonna overlay this. So my Terminators were painted up. I did a me just move my camera. I'll do that.
Enhance.
Whoa.
Enhance.
We're going to the fourth
Whoa.
dimension here.
Can you see it? Does it show up? Is it actually gonna show?
Not
Focus.
like a painted model.
Focus.
It shows up like a crazy
It's
ghost.
because my face is in it. If I go like this, if I leave the thing, does then it show up? No, it's not gonna show. I was gonna overlay all this anyway. It's no big deal. But I painted my Terminator squads. I made a painting video for that on how I painted them. I painted my Infernus Marines as well. I have to say, painting Space Marines is so easy. It's like after everything else I paint, after like the million different types of miniature games and miniature companies that I paint miniatures for, painting Space Marines is the most shockingly easy thing of all time. I did mine in that Horus Heresy style cobalt blue from Green Stuff World, where I airbrush it gloss varnish, I airbrush it with the cobalt blue, and then instead of like highlighting it, you battle damage all the edges and you wash the recesses dark. Right. So it's a really forgiving paint scheme. It does a ton of the heavy lifting for you because you're just doing metallics on everything and you're just going through and like painting all the details. So I'm just painting chest eagles, heads. Like, I think the most challenging thing is like the white on the Terminators, like Crux Terminatuses and their faceplates and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I can do quick and dirty paint jobs for all these things. This is very, very, very fun and fast, relaxing. So I'm making some paint videos for it, which I think is fun. People always ask me, how do you quickly get a project finished? So I'm doing like a basic tabletop paint job on these and just kind of blasting through them. And the idea is that you'd be able to use all the techniques I use with any color, right? So if you want to do them as Blood Angels or Imperial Fists, like just change the base coat. And then the process is still the same because it's all about all those time-saving things of like, get them assembled, get them primed, get them airbrushed, do all your basing gels. So I do all my basing gels like first before anything else, because then they're dry. And then I do all my base tones, do all my washes, go through with a highlight, finish the basing, and I'm done. So it's like, it's more like process driven than it is like the specific colors.
I was going to ask you guys when you're starting a brand new army. I know this is an addition to your existing collection, right?
Yeah.
When you're starting a new army for the first time with a new paint job, what's your process? Do you just do like one prototype mini, or do you just dive right into your project with a plan?
I usually do a prototype mini. So I usually I make a project box always. We talked about that last time. You can actually see my project box. And the prototype mini is usually dictating what goes in the project box, like what paints do I use, what order do I use them in, and then just like hammer everything out using the same methodology. So usually one. I think Nick did the same thing. You showed what was your first project mini?
I'm trying to get it to focus now. I bought a used set of Seraphim off of a local store just to try out my scheme. And I came up with this really bright red sort of scheme that actually uses a lot of orange. Maybe I'll just send a pic of this. We'll do the post thing. But yeah, I did that same thing where I had to buy a separate mini and I had to paint something that I liked with before I could proceed to batch paint a bunch.
Absolutely, yeah. And that lets you get the process down, like what order you're gonna do stuff in. I agree with you, Chris. I think that like the meta of painting your stuff, like what is this project process? You can turn your brain off and get through all those stages faster because oh, I'm just going to complete this one step and I can put the thing away. Like you're not like driven to finish. I find that stresses me out when I'm like, I gotta get this one model done. Whereas like if I have 20 models in front of me and I'm just going to do all the gold on them right now, I can just pack that up and put it away and then be done until I have time to like come back and do the next thing. So what have you been working on, Nick?
Well, I have once again, well, like I said, we're going to post it, I suppose, but I have finished off my sister squad. They were longer than I thought. They are not like Space Marines. They have a lot of little chains and holy bits and scrolly guys. So I've been painting small details and skin and faces and hair for like the last week. And
they're like Space Marines on hard mode because they have their helmets off.
Yeah, and they're the Monopose ones, so I can't choose to put the helmets on. But they're really nice models though, and I'm really enjoying the color scheme that I went with. Other than that, I've base coated most of the Repentia with the Repentia Superior and the Penitent engine as well. You'll see pictures of that. The Rhino is going to basically be black, so there's not too much left on the Rhino, and then I just got to do the Seraphim. And then all the bases.
And we can try out some comp patrol when those rules come out. That's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to play the sisters. I'm excited to play like a 2,000 point game of this where it's like a 4-player game. I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most is you, me, Jay, and Nick having like a 2-on-2 like game. I think that's what I'm actually really excited about, because I think that's going to be
rematch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Rematch the Tau. I'm not bringing the Custodies. I don't know how that Custodies competition is like legal. I have no idea.
It seems a bit much.
It seems way too much. It seems so overtuned. It's like, what do you have in this? Oh my god. It doesn't seem like they toned anything down.
Seems like one that we're just like, they just have to take damage on turn 1 just for existing, like part of the rules are you take damage.
That's right. Everyone starts the game wounded. Everyone starts the game with
yeah,
2
exactly.
I don't know how the Space Marine one's legal too either, like where it's just like, who do you have? I have 2 heroes and a Terminator squad and 5 Infernus Marines. Like that's I have no idea how that's going to work. That just seems like you have 2 units. I guess the Terminator librarian can't, only one of them could join the unit. So you have to have 3 because they can't join. No one can join the Infernus Marines just on their own. They're just screwed. You have to go off and like hope they don't die. And one of the Terminators gets to lead the unit, I guess. Yeah, it's weird. I think you want the librarian in the unit because he increases their invulnerable save? Question mark. Because that's our new thing for the week, right? The indexes came out for the Space Marines, right?
All 294 pages, I think.
Oh my god. That's shocking.
Something like that, including the chapter unique characters and stuff.
That's so much. So let's parse that for a second, because we've had a chance to go through it. They included all the firstborn shit in there. Like, so there's miniatures going back to like, like if you had an old Space Marine army, you can still play with it. You can play with your tactical squads, you can play with your assault squads, your devastator squads, your centurions in their cool, like biggest sized Space Marine armor. Like everything's in there. Going back
and
to
stuff is good now too.
The tactical squad seems amazing. The tactical squad where they can just fall back and charge and shoot no matter what, because they're tactical, baby. Like, it's weird how they gave really good rules to really old units. Like, it's
the
really
old storm speeder, you can disembark and charge out of the old storm speeder.
That's amazing. But
it's pretty cool.
And, it's right. Anybody can go in it because it's or did they call it?
No, that one might still have a couple of. It might be like Scout and Phobos units. I think. I don't know. I haven't looked at that.
If Phobos units can go in, that's amazing. I would convert land speeder storms to have like Phobos drivers.
Oh, but the new land speeders, the 3 new land speeders are all amazing. They have great support abilities.
Do they have transportability though? Like, can they be like Hueys?
Don't think they might be weapons platforms and like buffs.
Yeah, I don't care about that then. I want guys to jump out of them. I want cool disembarking from my land speeder.
Get a drop pod.
That's true, yes, because they did make it so the drop pod can carry Primaris Marines now, didn't they? So everybody can drop pod.
And come down in turn 1.
And everybody can Land Raider too. That's exciting.
Land Raider. King of Land Raider. Do it.
So this first round of indexes, I think, has revealed something very telling about the game. And this is a question I wanted to pose both you guys now that we've kind of been through what we've been working on this week. How do we feel about every unit having a called out unit it can or can't lead? And I'm gonna save my answer until after you guys talk about it. But how do you feel about the fact that like you can't just join units, right? You have you're tailor made to join specific units, and characters are designed to lead their specific like brand of unit. How do we feel about that?
Want me to go first? I'll go first.
Yeah, you go ahead, Nick.
So I think it's probably better because it lets you apply stronger buffs to heroes that are more unique, and then have it tailored so that they can only go in certain squads. So it's not like this one guy that gives +1 to wound is now the absolute best hero. You can put him in every single squad. Why do you ever take anything else? It just makes more sense to have, like, okay, here's your Phobos librarian. He goes with the Phobos guys. He gives them, they can't be targeted outside 12. That'd be way too good in Terminators. But for like scouts, great ability.
That does feel like it is a quality of life improvement for the game designers, where they don't have to worry about 294 unintended consequences.
Yeah, I think that's also like I'm trying to remember because I'm like I haven't played a game where you attach characters to units in a long time
since 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Yeah, so I'm
since 2015. Yeah,
I'm like, what?
But wait, I deleted those 20 years of my life. What are you talking about? I have kids now. I have to remember their lives.
You have to trade these things. These are trade-offs.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I deleted grade 8 so I can remember my daughter's birthday.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely, like you said, the intention is like I think it's easier to balance, right? Like they're gonna have a much easier time. There's less instances where this one character can join, like you said, like 200 units. they don't have to think of all those consequences. This makes a bit more sense. It feels a bit more like, dare I say, like War Machine's like unit attachment sort of vibe.
Yes, most definitely feels like
yeah,
that.
feels like that a bit.
Yeah, they're upgrades for units. Characters are now upgrades for units.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. Because they can still go off and do their own thing too. Nothing stops them from going and being their own little hero piece, but they're definitely safer inside units, right? Like they're not going to get just blown off the table because there's nothing hiding them unless they have that lone operative role, like they talked about with the assassins and stuff. So the other thing I've noticed, there's like no auras. There's very few auras in the game now. And it seems that attachment ability has replaced any aura ability. Those have become the abilities that you gain attached to a squad, right? And again, that feels like it's another thing where it's putting it down for some unintended consequences. You don't have Azrael giving invulnerable saves to like a hubcap wheel of predators and tanks like spoked around him. Like you don't have to worry about what's intended for one thing then being leveraged in some other way by the players that they don't have to worry about, because it's all very tidy. This
that multiplies, that complicates like balance, because like it multiplies value. Like sometimes in ways you can't like even fathom, right? Like when it just goes back to, I remember like a couple years ago with the like a bunch of those big chunky Space Marine repulsor tanks, and then just having like, you know, your Gilliman behind them.
That's right.
You get like 4 tanks and you're just pumping.
Right? He's just giving all back rubs. He's like, you're doing great, guys. He's just Ted Lassoing the whole thing.
Like, how do you assign an appropriate points value to a repulsor when it's not with Gilliman? And then how do you, you know, it just gets complicated like that. So this is way cleaner.
Definitely. It does feel, I mean, the inverse is it feels a little more sterile. Like it feels a little more like these characters, they lose value outside of units. So why would you take them? And I think that's going to be the argument for not. I think Games Workshop has a slippery slope there, because there'll be an argument for not buying these character models sometimes now too, because specifically characters that compete with each other in the same unit maybe. So it'll be interesting, like the Terminator Librarian and the Terminator Captain, they both have to offer something very different to a Terminator squad to make that worth taking all of a sudden, right? And if the Terminator Librarian doesn't offer anything that Storm Shield doesn't offer, well, you're never going to attach them to a Terminator Assault squad. So I think that argument becomes, be careful, don't push that too far in that other direction, because all of a sudden you might have 45 SKUs of Space Marine like hero models and you're selling like 3 of them, because 3 of them are considered to be good and the rest of them are considered to be, well, there's only 1 spot per squad unless you're like a Space Marine Lieutenant. The nice thing is Space Marine Lieutenants they can go anywhere because they can always join with the captain. So Space Marine Lieutenant's safe. He can have as many as you want because they're going to add an additional like layer of abilities to all their units. I guess we'll see.
Although one other, I guess, counterpoint to that, though, if there's a good hero that you can put in all your units and you end up playing like 10 squads and each have 10 heroes, and Games Workshop sells those heroes for like $30 to $60 in our country, that this actually just sold like an extra 5 to 6 heroes because you're like, oh, I only ever need 1 captain. Now you need 3 captains.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see how this plays out.
I'm trying to think about the casual gamer for a second here too, and I'm trying to think like, you know, obviously it's less sandboxy, right, in a way, but in another, on the other hand, it's much more easy to just derive like, okay, if I take this, I'm new, and if I take this unit, or I don't play often, I take this unit, my options are very narrow, like limited. Okay, it's easy for me to build the list, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think like, is it better for the casual gamer, or is it maybe
the hiccup I see with the casual gamer is going to be like, oh, I really like this miniature, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to add to my army. Oh, you can't join any of my squads. Oh, I feel bad about buying that. That's my only like, my only thought of like, is there a speed bump here for the casual gamer?
I'm trying to think about crappy 40k, like you talked about philosophically.
Yeah, absolutely.
To keep crappy 40k in my head, I'd be like, does this fit with crappy 40k? Because that should matter if they want people to play that style of game.
Absolutely, yeah, and to cross over into the game again.
It definitely will with support heroes for sure. You can't buy a support hero that just doesn't go into unit that does nothing. Like, oh wow, this was crappy.
It presupposes a bit of knowledge about that stuff in your purchasing when you're new, and I guess that's my only like. Could that create like a negative experience at some point? Maybe.
Put it somewhere you've narrowed. Works with.
well, you've narrowed compatibility, right? You've narrowed compatibility of units and characters. So you have to know what he can join. So you're either requiring more subject matter expertness from the game store owner, or from the customer themselves, and the customer themselves doesn't come preloaded with that, right? So there's an element of like I gotta know what I'm talking about now to be able to sell this stuff. I guess we'll see. The other thing I noticed a great deal is, man, tanks are really tough. Tanks are back, baby. It feels like tanks are like really back.
There's something we didn't notice that's pretty cool when we're going through the index there.
What's that?
So on some vehicles and monsters at the moment, when it says reduce damage by 1, it does not say to a minimum of 0.
Oh, that feels like that's a typo.
But it's on multiple data sheets, and they've been doing this wording for
Oh man,
a billion years, right? Because it's not just.
Is there anything in the core rules that says you can never
Tyranid
reduce a
book.
value below 1? Is there anything in the core rulebook that says that when you modify something, nothing can ever go below 1?
There might be,
There
but
might be.
I've just seen that the people have been buzzing about potentially zero damage stuff, which is interesting. Not a lot has it.
Yeah, I mean that would be like kind of a return to Armor 11 in 3rd edition 40k, right? Where bolters couldn't hurt it, like where if your value is just 1 less, then you just can't hurt it. I'm okay with that. I think that's cool. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. I think that's a neat concept. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with vehicles feeling like vehicles again, right? Like where you can drive over stuff. Like I'm excited tank shock's back in the core mechanics.
Oh, tanks.
You're right. Like where tanks are cool again, where walkers are cool again. They just felt like wound blobs, I think, in 9th edition to me, and they got bad so fast. Like as soon as they took a bunch of wounds, like a few wounds, your point values changed on them. You know what I mean? Like your I guess your value for points paid changed on them, and that didn't feel good. Like it didn't feel like your investment was sound because they decayed, they like degraded and got worse.
Yeah, orc vehicle degraded famously terribly to ballistic skill 6.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I wasn't hitting before this, like, and now I'm extra not hitting this. I can only DACA. So yeah, it does feel like vehicles are kind of back again. And I'm sort of excited for that because there are like the one thing we'll say with 40k in its current edition and in the previous edition, even it has an embarrassment of cool vehicle kits, like really cool vehicle kits. They didn't get used that often.
Yeah.
Like interlocking hoops of monsters and infantry got used more. It's kind of the War Machine problem of like, no one uses warjacks anymore. They just use infantry. Like, if something gets worse, why would I ever take it? I'm excited to have them actually feel good again because I want to be able to play with big cool models, and I think that was always the thing that set 40k apart from Warhammer Fantasy Battle was this like 2 foot away impressiveness of it. Right, you didn't have to dial in on the individual as much to like be impressed by like the look of things and how cool it was. 40k has always had like neat centerpiece models, like you said, like that Carnifex is giant. It's cool as hell. Even the Space Marine heroes, like this Captain Wall's on a 50 millimeter base. He's enormous. He's huge. He's way bigger than a Space Marine used to be. I think that's awesome. He's impressive. Like he pops out on the tabletop. So I'm hoping vehicles are adequately like impressive on the tabletop, and they feel like they are the kings of war. Anything
also,
else,
toughness 10 and 11 Tyranid monsters. Let's go.
Oh yeah. What toughness 10 in the start is the Carnifex toughness 10? He should be.
I didn't check him. I didn't see him, but the Hive Tyrant's toughness 10. I was like, what?
Ooh, because he stops bullets with his mind. He looks with his mind.
Pretty good. Yeah. And then the other bigger monsters are all like 11. So yeah, they're gonna be. It's cool. Like it's gonna be tough to wound them, right? So
yeah, always winning on 5s, like both
everything on
6s and 5s.
Yeah.
So many 6s to win.
Strat to give them the feel no pain, I think.
Yeah,
one or something.
Yeah,
pretty.
Yeah, it's the scene in Starship Troopers where like it just keeps coming no matter how much they shoot it. Like its arms and legs are all blown off, but like it's being forced to like move forward and it's being puppeteered, and the bug just keeps moving. So cool. I feel that whole feel no pain thing is amazing. I will say that the 2 detachment styles are really interesting, and they do feel like they are going. And let's talk about that maybe as our last thing about the rules. They do feel like Remember when you said, what's the codex going to be like in our last video? Like, what do you think the codex is going to call out? I think these detachment sheets are going to be the features of the codexes. I think you're going to see multiple detachment sheets because the Space Marines have like a Gladius. What's it? The Gladius Task Force is the one that's on there in their index right now. It feels like that's the template. That's like, these are the Space Marines that follow Gilliman's Codex Astartes. But other types of detachment would then flavor that same list and index of miniatures differently. So I feel like when we do finally see codexes, you're going to get like 5 to 6 of these like 4 pages of detachment rules, and you pick the detachment you want to use, and then you pick models underneath that detachment. And so you don't have to have like 60 stratagems in a codex. Instead, you have these like little 3 to 4 sheet sections that are the detachment that you're taking. And you know what it feels like to me? It feels like Horus Heresy, where the different detachments gave you different types of armies.
That game was surprised me a lot, but how little rules you actually had to give a faction to complete it, to create a completely different new play experience.
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. I think this detachment thing is a brilliant, if they can keep it simple, having like unique stratagems to each, like that really push towards a particular play style, for each detachment, like do they already have in the little index or whatever here. I think that's cool. That's really cool because you can change the complete flavor, having the same pool of models, but have like just slightly different kind of stratagems and things. I think that's a kind of a neat way to go.
Yeah, or that like feed into certain units. Like imagine like you got a turner ones like the Turvagon spawning pool, and it just gives like specific like resurgent stuff to certain units. So it doesn't say you can't take whatever you want. It just says this particular type of unit will behave in this way. Or like you do a space it's the first company, and it's just all Terminator stuff, gets all these different bonuses, and they're allowed to deep strike on track. Like I feel like if these detachment rules that we've seen now for these 2 armies are the template, then the codexes are going to be a cookbook of different detachments along with all your indexes to play with.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I'm excited about that because I think it'd be cool. It'd be cool to get different themed armies, and then you build your army around a theme.
Right. And who's to say that we don't even see some of those stratagems in those repeat throughout those different detachments, like the Feel No Pain or the spawning pool thing that you mentioned. We might see that spawning one that we currently have in that. Maybe it's even better in that one, though.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But you still only have to remember 6. You know what I mean? Because it's just pick the 6 you're gonna remember, and then this little like separate sheet of them's there, and you're ready to play because it's all parsed out for you basically as like it's a recipe. You know what I mean? It's a recipe for playing this one army. I'm really hoping they keep that way and they don't bloat it too much, and that way you have these like pared down cool experiences, because it really does feel like it's boring from Horus Heresy in those like detachment types where it's like Pride of the Legion, or it's what is it, Angel's Fury, or like, and then they gave all the different legions their own special detachments basically to allow them to operate and feel like they were historically basically playing Horus Heresy. So yeah, this feels like it's a template. It feels like the right one, obviously, to start off with the Space Marines, which is like Gilman's Codex. You have like the nice, familiar, like, you know, Devastator Doctrine, Combat Assault Doctrine, Tactical Doctrine, or whatever. And then they can just grow into it and expand with different ones going forward into the future. That would be, I mean, that's my fingers crossed. That's my like preferred way to like, let's do this, like keep it simple and keep it pared down, because my brain doesn't want to have to absorb. Like, I don't want to have to decide. Right? I don't have to decide how to style my army that way. I want a template to style my army that way. And I think if these attachments do that, that's going to be a way. It's like a semi-constructed deck. Does that make sense? Like where you pick a theme and all of the rules for the theme are right there in front of you, and then you just put units in that match that theme and you're ready to play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love, also on a different tangent, I love the War Scroll cards.
The War Scroll cards? Oh, you're going the War Scroll cards? Now that you see them and you're like, oh, these are literally just
these are War Scroll cards. And that, you know what? That's a good thing. They're fantastic. They're clear.
It's true.
Not too much information on them. I feel like I can just put a bunch of these in front of me and like just play the game easily, you know? Like, it's awesome.
Definitely, yeah. You just pull the ones that are available to you, and then you're ready to rock and roll. You can play some games. I'm excited to have them physically, like to actually like see them in print, like from GW. I think they're going to be very handy to play games with, and I hope they stay in stock. That's my one thing. I'm like, please don't sell it. Please keep printing these. These feel really important to playing the game, like for fun. I'm surprised we didn't get more swag, right? Like today was like pre-order day for Leviathan, right? Everything, we've seen the box. The box is exciting. Where's all my dice? Where's my tins? Where's my special edition, like that comes with a Tyranid head that I can put on my wall? There's not more cool, like extra stuff to play with.
Yeah, they went no gimmicks this time. It's interesting because like not just the swag, but like all the other ancillary products that normally accompany a release are just all
Missing.
gone.
Yeah.
And it's just the one box. It's like very clear, very like this is what you buy. Don't look at anything else. This is it right here.
Did they put a separate rulebook up for pre-order on the website?
No rulebook, nothing.
Really?
Nothing. Yeah.
I think when you pre-order the Leviathan box on the site, you get a board as well.
You get a board?
Yeah, a Leviathan
What?
battle, like a field, like one of those, like a foldy
Like
board.
the fold-out boards? No way.
Yeah.
Find me a picture of that. Shut up. For
Maybe,
real? I
maybe
want
fact
one
check
now.
me on that, but I did see somebody post something about that.
I would
I'm like
Google
your
it, but
reporter, man.
my
I'm
cottage
the guy on the
internet
ground
connection would
talking to
immediately
crazy
collapse if
people.
I tried to Google anything right now, so I'm not going to. We tried to screen share on this one and it immediately fell apart. We crashed the entire call. So I'm going to not play with my internet connection right now. I think the
Yes, they have the promotional item Leviathan Battlefield. Yeah.
Interesting. Does it look cool? Is it like
it's a brown field.
It's a brown field.
It's a brown
It has
square.
knotwood trees
You're
on it.
welcome.
It's clearly the knotwood one.
It's
It's a double-sided brown square.
it's fine.
It's fine. It's got
It's
mud.
free, so you can't really complain.
I mean, I guess that's true. Yeah. You can put Combat Patrol on. You get one or two. We'll see if we can get some. We'll see if we can get our hands on some. We'll play Combat Patrol.
It's
on them.
two. Yeah, it's two of the same one. So yeah, I guess you can play Combat Patrol, which is kind of cool.
Oh, is it? That's cool.
Yeah.
If it's two of the
Yeah,
same one that you can play Combat Patrol,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's really cool then.
You even play a game on just the one square anymore?
No, it's just Kill Team. That's called Kill Team, son. That's how you play that one. It's its own
Okay, that would
standalone
be
product.
funny though. If they only give you one square, if you want the Leviathan box.
Find a
Yeah.
friend. Find a friend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Find a friend. 2 dice, a pencil eraser, and a friend. The hardest hobby product to get of all. So that seems like the biggest kind of like greatest hits of the news of the week. I'm trying to think of anything else that's super interesting from these reveals, but I think we pretty much panned it out. So I'm excited to paint for next week. You and I have a game, Chris. We got to get our stuff done.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to throw down with the Leviathan box. I'm pumped for that. Ooh, sweet. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thanks for having me.
All right, night,
All
everybody.
right, everybody.
Good night.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.